Welcome everyone to Next Level Humanity podcast, and I have a very special guest today, Didem Altop from Treeo VC.
Hi, Nevşah. It's wonderful
welcome.
to be here. Thank you for this opportunity to share some ideas together.
Yeah, thanks for being here. I have really enjoyed being part of Treeo VC, and I love the team. You're doing amazing things. You're doing a great job. How about starting by introducing yourself? You have a very deep understanding about human potential, and I'm sure you have a lot of stories to share with us about your personal growth. Let's just begin with your story. How did you end up with Treeo VC?
Oh my goodness, it's a long story. So whenever I think about my own expertise, I think of it as ecosystem building, which actually is quite appropriate because whether it's the nonprofit sector and you're trying to do some like social impact activities, whether it's the startup ecosystem, trying to build a supporting ecosystem, or whether you're a startup itself and you're trying to build your business model, I think ecosystems for me, it's the magic of everything. That's where everything happens. Being able to align stakeholders around a common goal and a common mission has been kind of the common theme of my career for the last, I'm going to give away my age, but for the last 30 plus years, let's say. But actually I come from, first I started in management consulting, then I went into economic development work. And then for the last 20 years or so, even with entrepreneurship, I've been involved in digital transformation. So I really enjoyed that space. And in parallel to this, I've also been involved in the nonprofits arena in the third sector. So mobilizing communities around social agenda items as well. So those are my two muscles, I would say. Digital transformation and nonprofit philanthropy work.
Yeah, lovely. Most of our listeners are founders, entrepreneurs, and we also have some angel investors and also some professional investors. And mainly in Next Level Humanity, we are focusing on the human side of things because, as you know, we are humans and we are in the search of meaning in our lives. And I think the ones who find the meaning of their lives eventually succeed in many areas of life. And when I, as a behavioral scientist, when I look at people who are highly successful and like yourself, who have been able to use their fullest potential in their business, they kind of like have this interesting journey in self-development where they at one point got crystal clear about who they are, their potential, and what they want from life and what they want from business. Because sometimes, especially young entrepreneurs, because we have lots of young entrepreneurs in our community, just founding their first business or second business or growing their companies. And I think because we kind of like separate the business world from who we are as humans,
right?
Make that mistake in our lives, we miss the fact that we are all humans and we are in search of meaning. So no matter what we're building, no matter what we're working on, why we're working on that, and the big why, I think, is the most important thing. So where in your own story have you, in your own personal growth and business journey, when was the first time you've kind of like started understanding the big why in your own story? Like, why do you do the things you do and where you want to be in your life and your mission? And
I've actually reflected on this quite a bit because I grew up Turkish American. So both of my parents are Turkish, but I was the first generation to be born in the United States. And it was I was blessed with the burden of having dual cultures, right? So blessed, it gives you such great perspective, but it is a burden because you have to figure out where you fit in. And when I was living in America, I was too Turkish. When I was living in Turkey, I was too American. So I actually believe that my obsession with ecosystems actually comes from the need to find a tribe or to build tribes, to bring people around a common goal, objective, etc., so I can find my people where I feel like I belong. So again, I'm assuming it's self-motivated, but I think that the outcome of it is for the greater good, right? So for me, I like to be part of tribes or ecosystems. I enjoy it. I find a sense of belonging in those spaces that I've created, or I've helped to create, or I've catalyzed. And at some point, it takes on a life of its own and it starts serving a purpose beyond just me, right? Making myself happy, but others happy as well.
Yeah.
So for me, I think that started when I was really young, maybe even like 9 or 10 years old. I discovered that journey. And the second part of it was also, I don't know how normal people view mentors, but for me, mentors was instrumental in keeping my sanity. Again, with this Turkish-American journey. So I had Turkish parents living in America, trying to do American things with Turkish parents. So there was always, some elders or some wise people who were part of my mentorship and advisory, whether it was for my career, my studies, even just like my social dynamics, right? And the only thing you can do with mentors actually is to honor them. You can only pay it forward. So somebody mentors you and then you pay it forward by mentoring somebody else. So that's the second component. And again, a common theme in my life. And that started very early, 9, 10, 11 years old. I appreciated mentors in my life. I recognize them. I hold them in great esteem. And I tried to, when we started Endeavor in Turkey, for example, in 2006, it was an entrepreneurship support organization, but the means to that end was mentorship. So we created this whole notion of what mentors are, what they do, and how they add value to the world around them. Yeah, it's again tribal. Sure, yeah. It's very Montessori,
tribal,
Montessori thinking, right? The elders help the youngers, or the more experienced help the less experienced. But I think that's a beautiful way to live.
Yeah. I think especially during challenging times, and I'm sure most of the entrepreneurs have been experiencing unlimited number of challenging times. So if I ask you, with your own experience, your business experience, and even like life experience in general, what do you think, like what was the biggest challenge you ever overcame, and how did you do it? Because that's kind of I think gives us secrets to like what was the biggest one, and
actually
and how
I think
did you
I
overcome
pretty
that
much
one?
I explained it as an outcome, but my biggest challenges were all the things that I struggled with in terms of finding a sense of belonging and a path forward. And I did solve it through creating tribes and mentorship and, recruiting mentors. So those were probably my 2 secret sauces for my journey.
So it was kind of like being together with people who have similar experiences
or common goals. Yes.
Common goals.
When it comes to common goals, it's really interesting. And you're a behavioral scientist, right? So you know this. When do you trust people? When your goal is the same, it's easy to trust each other. So
yeah, when your values are aligned, when your goals are aligned, when you have the same mission, because they're supporting their values.
So that creates a very interesting safe space. I think that's when you start trusting people, when you're aligned. And it doesn't have to be my reason for that goal might be different than your reason for the goal, but the goal is the same. So we can still trust each other.
Yeah. So I think what you said is very interesting, and that's something to remember for all of us. It's like life has equal challenges. It's kind of like life is very balanced in its own way, and it has equal challenges and equal stressful moments, equal challenges and equal support system. It's kind of like the more you are challenged, the more you get the support you need, the more you are supported, the more you are challenged. So I think consciously building environments that support us, and environments or tribes where we think alike, or where we have similar goals and similar missions, aligned values. It's kind of like a conscious way of creating a support system so that you can go out there and be challenged, because you can't run away from challenge. It's kind of like, it's kind of like, because sometimes, especially young entrepreneurs think if they create environments where they get the support, it's like they won't be challenged. It's kind of like, I think it's all about consciously managing and deciding where you will be challenged on and where you want support from. So it's like consciously creating a support environment so that you can go out there and be challenged, because there will be challenges equal to
So I do think of myself as an entrepreneur as well, because I've built so many organizations and so many communities. Again, I think you've used the word consciously a couple of times, and you often refer to that as mindfully, right? So consciously and mindfully. Emotional maturity is a critical success factor for entrepreneurial success. You know, we talk about entrepreneurial passion, and of course it's very important, but passion alone doesn't get you to where you want to go, right? It's a deliberation and intention, being able to observe a situation objectively and then take action kind of, I'm not saying unemotionally, but consciously, mindfully. I mean, you can still preserve the emotion there, the excitement, the hate, the frustration, the disappointment. It's all there. But having those emotions isn't what drives your behavior. You drive your behavior while you're feeling those emotions. So,
yeah, definitely. Emotional intelligence, I think, besides IQ, is kind of like the key to both personal and professional success. So what advice would you give to someone looking to improve their emotional intelligence and develop stronger connections with others? Because that's kind of like, I have seen that's also a key point around building tribes, building groups, and building relationships. It's like to become a successful entrepreneur, IQ isn't enough. I think EQ is much more important, as you also know.
I mean, if we really want to go deep into the thinking of it, like the logic of it, the framework of it, first of all, we have to realize that we have a relationship with ourselves. So there's the relationship you have with yourself and your own dynamics. You've probably dealt with transactional analysis or those type of things. Like, I'm not a psychologist, but I did want to understand how my brain and my emotion and my physiology were working together. And I think it's been really interesting that a lot of people don't make that investment. You go to the gym to build your muscles. You go to the salon to get your hair cut. Why not work on your brain as well and your emotional capacity as well? So you go to school to learn your intellectual capacity, but why wouldn't we invest more effort into understanding what makes our brain tick and how we behave and how we respond versus react? So that whole transactional analysis with yourself, what do you want to do? What do you feel you need to do? And how do you balance those two sometimes competing desires mindfully is really important. And then when you figure that out with yourself, then you realize that you work with humans and everybody has that dynamic going on internally, and how you interact with them is what triggers different behaviors from each other. So how do you interact with people in a way that elevates the conversation into the most efficient, productive, effective that it can be? And then, of course, then that goes into a community. How does the community then get elevated? So there's a whole kind of school of thought that I've actually studied just for my personal growth. I think words matter. So, you know, I'm going to simplify cognitive, CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy. I think words matter. The words we use, the way we talk to ourselves and the way we talk to others, and the words we choose to describe a situation has a huge, like, neurolinguistic programming, has a huge impact on how you motivate someone, how you resonate with somebody, essentially. So all of those pieces of the puzzle, I think, are worth studying. Especially if you're going to be an entrepreneur, because it's a whole leadership journey. And if you're not leading yourself, then you're not really leading anybody. You know, you have to lead starting with yourself.
Exactly. Yeah. And you have blended science and holistic approaches in your life. You have blended science, wellness. How do you see the relationship between modern science and holistic practices like meditation and mindfulness? And do you believe there is a way to integrate them effectively to personal growth and also business growth? Or have you found ways to do that?
I love frameworks and tools. I love them in business, I love them in entrepreneurship, and I love them in holistic living, right? So all of those tools and frameworks make a big difference, I think. And not only do tools create a shortcut for you to analyze a situation, reflect on it, and then make decisive action, but it also creates a common language so that you can share that dialogue with others. And then you can have a more robust conversation with more input, etc. So I love all kinds of frameworks. I think that they work in many instances, and in terms of holistic living, definitely. So all they're tools in your toolbox, essentially. So meditation is a tool. Self-reflection, taking time to self-reflect is a tool. All of those things are are resources in your tool.
Yeah. I also see self-mastery and personal growth and all the holistic methods like meditation, mindfulness, all of these practices, ways to kind of like find a groundness in your own self and who you are and your mission, and just to tools that help us stay clear in a ever-changing, in a fast-paced world, because the world
faster than ever before.
You know, it's like it's just faster than ever before, and change is inevitable. So it's like there is this whole going on. You just hear of, you know, the AI and the projects and the ideas. It's like it's just so fast happening, and staying clear about on who you are and why you're doing the things you're doing, and really like being crystal clear in your mind, I think matters more than any time in the world right now because of that fast pace. And in my opinion, the kind of like the philosophical principles, it's kind of like it's a time where we need those philosophical principles, because the world can tear you apart, especially if you're an entrepreneur and anyone in the business world, because everything, it's just, we're bombarded with information, things happening. If you lose your clarity, you lose everything. It's like you lose track of, you know, time and goals and mission. So we can't emphasize, I think, the importance of staying clear and using these tools to support that clarity.
I think that you really nailed
agree.
it. Like the things are moving faster than ever before, and being able to stay centered. So everything is moving, everything is dynamic, and it can either be painful or you can feel like you have some type of control over the situation, right? And where does that come from? Again, mindfulness, but imagine that you have a goal X, and you're at point A, and you're trying to get to goal X. If you don't observe the situation with honesty, then you're never actually going to either change this goal or move towards the goal. The more you deny the honest reality of where you are and where you want to be, the more depressed people become. So that's actually the definition of depression, right? It's like not facing reality is what keeps you depressed and kind of paralyzed. The moment that you can observe a situation mindfully and say, okay, this is the goal I set and this is where I am today. Either I need to change my goal and bring it closer to me, or I need to take XY steps to get towards that goal. There's only two options, right? Or the third option is just to stay there and be frustrated. That requires mindfulness. I cannot imagine an entrepreneur who doesn't get what I'm saying. Like you either move the goal to here, to someplace else that's more achievable, or you move yourself towards that specific goal. And to do that requires really being able to face reality, figure out what your options are, assess your options, pick one, and then live with the solutions. But that's what we talk about with like feedback loops and pivoting and again, frameworks, right? So being able to internalize the psychology of it into the business of it, they're both really important.
Yeah. And I also think that the business world, especially entrepreneurs, not only need mentors, but also need coaches who can lead them. And you're great at coaching, and you know you're a pro on that. And I would like to ask you, because it's in my world, I keep on telling entrepreneurs, go and find a coach. Other than mentors, it's like, and understanding the difference between mentorship and coaching, because sometimes they're like, okay, I have a mentor, but mentorship is not coaching. It's like mentors are people who have done it. They give you ideas with their own experience, but coaching is something else. It's a profession. It's like professionally asking strong questions so that you can find answers and you can do some deep thinking. Of course, we can, as entrepreneurs, as business owners, we can ask strong questions to ourselves as well. But especially while building a startup, especially you have to go on the fast track. You have to go on the fast track. Having a coach, I think, it's a must. And I don't know why we kind of like in the startup world, we understood the importance of having mentors, but didn't fully understand the importance of coaching. So how would you describe the difference between coaching and mentorship, and why do you think entrepreneurs need coaches as well as
So
mentors?
exactly, your definition is really important. The distinction is subtle but critical. Mentors are actually sharing their own experience as an example that you can take inspiration from, right? So they're sharing an experience. Coaches are helping you think through an issue. They're helping you think through an issue with provoking questions, as you said. I think in the beginning, when coaching became a thing, so mentorship was often free and typically free, right? It's just people passing the torch forward. Coaching became a paid service. And in the beginning, the coaching was, like, nobody understood how a coach was qualified or why that coach was an expert in their field, because it's different from psychology and therapy and everything. So there was a question mark around it. And now you have a bunch of legitimate coaches in the world. But again, people, I think, don't know how to distinguish between who's a legitimate coach and who's, just claiming to be a coach, right? So those are two sensitive issues. But as you said, as an entrepreneur, speed is your best friend. So not speed where it's reckless driving, but speed in a tempo fashion. You have to be systematically advancing towards your goals. And your speed to market, if you're too slow, your consumers, your customers, your team, your investors, all of your different stakeholders are going to get frustrated. You have to be moving in a very, very rapid pace. And that's where coaches come in. Coaches can help you dissect any situation, whether it's personal, work-life balance, professional, about a team. Maybe you're having trouble. You used to be the founder, so you're doing everything, and now you're starting to delegate, and you've never delegated before. Like, you're doing things for the first time in your life. In order to go through that learning curve and that process, work in a more tempoed and structured and reflective way, coaches are really important. And the word reflective is also important. We often think that we learn from experience, but that's not really true. You learn from reflecting on your experience. So that's where the meditation and the mindfulness comes in, right? So just because you experience something doesn't necessarily mean that you've learned anything from it. You have to go back and look at that experience and decipher it, reverse engineer it, try to understand and internalize it. And that's where you extract the takeaways, the lessons learned. That's when you learn.
Yeah, and also I would also like to add and also ask you, like, the process, because mindfulness and meditation for people, especially who are not yet into, especially in the business world, some people are, what mindfulness and what meditation, so, I usually tell my students or the entrepreneurs we work with, it's all about deep thinking, mindfulness and meditation, coaching. These are all practices for deep thinking. And when you're going at a very fast pace, you need to think deeper before every step you take. Because if you, it's just like a car. If you crash, it's gonna be worse because you're at a higher. So it's like the higher the speed goes, the higher the awareness and consciousness level and the depth of thinking has to go. It's like, if you can't think deep, if you can't plan ahead, don't go fast, because when you crash, you lose everything. So it's like, I think telling about, it's like speaking about the importance of being conscious and being self-aware, being aware, and just being in that process of deep thinking when you're moving fast. It's the most important thing.
Sure.
Because you can just lose track.
And to get to that level where you can think deeply faster also requires exercise. It's another muscle. It's just like your posture, right?
Yes.
So the more you're able to practice standing straight and with your shoulders back, etc., then it's becomes second nature and you do it all the time. Same thing with deep thinking, right? So you're practicing. And then now when you're driving at 200 kilometers per hour, your brain remembers how to do the deep thinking.
You get coached and coached. And
you're developing those synapses,
changes.
right? You're developing the synapses that makes that happen. The neural networks in your brain that you're building them actually as you're practicing the deep thinking.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. So what would you suggest as, I mean, I will ask your daily habits for a stronger mindset, and like, what are your daily routines and daily habits you practice that have helped you build and maintain a strong mindset over time and gain this deep thinking, ability and be more conscious, and what would you suggest?
To be honest,
the entrepreneurs,
I just moved from Turkey to
everyone.
America, and I've been dealing with like unusual things, right? So painting, renovating, etc. That's going to be ending sometime soon. So I've fallen off the bandwagon, but I do believe that there's a mind and body connection. And for me, that's either like yoga, Pilates, or some other sports. But I think that being able to, even golf, right? Like imagine playing golf. If you're not in that moment at that time, that ball's going to go somewhere. Yoga is the same way. If you're not in that moment at that time, you're going to topple over. Being able to focus really on being present in a moment with your body is also training your brain. But yeah, your body physically is also training your brain about focus. So the mind-body connection is important. You do have to feed yourself well. You have to sleep well. You have to move your body. We're stuck in front of the computer. You have to move your body. And all of those things together work in harmony. So I've fallen off the bandwagon a little bit just because my life is so unsettled at the moment. But I will get back to it as well. I do think that there's a mind-body connection that doesn't require a lot of time, by the way. This isn't like, oh, you have to set aside 2 hours to exercise, 10 minutes of yoga, and then 5 minutes of meditating around it.
Yeah.
It's 15 minutes a day can actually help you for the whole entire day, for the whole entire week. It's going to make a big difference. Sleeping is really important.
Yeah, exactly.
It's so much more important than we ever realized. And of course, we all know that eating well is important, but sleeping is more important than we think.
Yeah, exactly. I agree. Yeah, I think the entrepreneurs listening to us today learned a lot. Thank you very much, Didem. And I will also ask you one last thing. So what would your advice be for entrepreneurs who want to stand out and make a meaningful impact? Like where do they need to start? Like to just create a big impact in their lives, in their community, in the business world. Because at the end of the day, again, why do you become an entrepreneur? To create
a big impact.
A big impact, a meaningful impact. It's like, why would you go on that path? So it's all about impact. Entrepreneurs usually are people who want to create impact.
I mean, if we're looking at,
where would they start?
A lot of us can be inspired by a lot of different things, right? So I'm inspired by the climate change and this and that, and I want to do a lot of things. But I don't start a startup around it because I don't have anything that I can directly add to it. So when you're looking at entrepreneurship, really the things that you're trying to mobilize, it's the art and science of mobilizing resources, right? Entrepreneurship. So if you have market insight and you can bring together some type of subject matter expertise or tech savvy and the business skills, those three things come together like a Venn diagram. And then where they overlap is where all the innovation and the opportunity and the leadership potential happens. That's where you're innovating, on those intersections of those three things, the market, the subject matter expertise, and the business. And actually the intersection of that is also where you start from the universe attracting funding. That's when the more you have an overlap of those things, the more customers you're going to attract. So you have customer revenue, the more venture capital or angel investors you're going to attract, etc. So to entrepreneurs, it's not enough to say, hey, I just want to build a business. It has to be something that's relevant to you. Like, why you? Either you should have some market insight, like it should be a problem that you dealt with and you're trying to solve. You know it firsthand, or you have access to customers, or you know how to develop the software, the technology, the product, the service, or you trust your business skills. Now, it's not very likely that any one person has all three of those things. So from our point of view as Treeo VC, we're three partners, but we really do believe in the power of co-founders. Whenever you're working with a co-founder, you're dealing with another human. So you better be able to figure out your egos, your neuroses, how you talk to each other, how you split work, how you come to compromise, how you debate. If you can't, you have to be able to debate that's where all the exciting things happen in a really graceful, respectful, elegant way. So, but we do believe in the power of co-founders. And of course, it's not just the co-founders either. Then you have advisors, partners, stakeholders. So you're really mobilizing all those resources to build those 3 building blocks to a more robust level so that you can actually create the impact that you're looking to create. Again, another framework. I love frameworks.
Okay. Yeah. Lovely. Yeah. So we'll be chatting with Arzu soon in Turkish for the Turkish podcast, and I'll probably ask the same question to her as well. So what are your plans with Treeo VC in the next couple of months? And
we're literally at the 1.5 year mark. In June, it'll be 1.5 years. So our goal is to raise a 10 million fund. We're at almost 7. So we're kind of on target, although we've had bumps and bruises along the way. You know, the world happens, the world keeps moving, whether it's an earthquake, wildfire, or political uncertainties, stuff happens all the time. So you have to be able to weather those storms calmly. Even if you're frustrated, you still need to be able to be calm about everything. We have great LPs who are helping us with our pipeline, who are helping us with due diligence, who are supporting the companies that we've invested in. We have great, terrific 11 investments that we're so excited about. Each one is a superstar in their own space. So there's not a lot of overlap other than they're all B2B and generative AI. And of course, Turkish founders or other immigrant founders. They're all in the United States doing great things. We're really excited. We love our LPs. We love the dynamic we have with our investors and being able to collaborate with them. I think because we're a micro fund, it's a smaller community. So that means that we can be a little bit more personal, intimate. We know each other, right? We get to know each other.
Yeah.
Whether, it's not this like mega thing where everyone's remote. We're a little bit closer together. It's going really well. The other thing is too that the pipeline of companies is more exciting than we ever even imagined. I mean, probably like 100 times more exciting than we thought it was going to be. We knew that there was a lot of talent there, but it's even more rewarding, more exciting than we thought. Yeah.
Lovely. I love it. I'm looking forward to hearing their stories, and I'm looking forward to
such impressive stories. And you see how actually things have trickled down to much younger. Like, we recently invested in this company. The students had the founders had already generated $1 million in revenue before they graduated from college, just doing projects that they started in high school.
Wow.
Like, the talent level is just so
amazing.
The intensity of it is really, really impressive.
It is.
New generation.
Lovely. New generation.
Happy to chat another time. Again, but thank you so much for this conversation.
Thank you, Didem.
My favorite topics.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you. I enjoyed every moment of it. And thanks to our listeners and anyone watching us to any of our channels. And I'll see you in the next episode. Best wishes.